The countdown to terror has begun.
The signal's getting stronger now. It won't be long.
Come quick! The monster done ate my pappy!
Do you really think this was a bear duck?
Highly unlikely. First man on Mars. Once he was human.
There's something shiny in the rock. This is really starting to sting.
Now a bloodthirsty monster, killing and devouring the young. And not so innocent.
Let's take a look at this, huh?
I'm gonna blast the thing back to hell.
Oh, shit.
First man on Mars.
You mean there's aliens out here? Shit, I don't want to get ducted and anal.
This film is not rated.
The following feature has been rated R by the Motion Picture Association of America.
Prepare yourself for the ultimate battle. Galaxy of Terror. Trapped in a living maze of terror.
Edward Albert and Aaron Moran battle hordes of hideous shadow demons, encounter the razor-sharp living glass, brave the pit of doomed souls, just to discover the only way out is death.
Good to be back in the saddle again. Look at this jungle. Everything in it survives by killing something else.
I'm Jack Death. I'm a trooper in the 23rd century. Jack Death, Angel City PD. May I see your stats? Send you then. Look out! Of course, sometimes they find me first.
You're a cop from the future and you're chasing this guy Piper.
Whistler.
Why doesn't he just turn you into one of these zombies? Or me?
Trancing only works on squids, people with weak minds, easily controlled. Lena, I'm from another time, another world. I don't even know what you people eat for lunch.
Jack Death is back. And he's never even been here before. Trancers. Something or someone is killing the people of Galen.
I think I'm going crazy!
The Incubus.
Tri-Delta sororities having their initiation tonight.
Yeah? Delta Delta?
Make it sound like we're devil worshippers or something. An infraction will require punishment. Painful punishment.
Nobody's around. Experience a lust for power so gruesome that you may lose your mind. When horrifying humans team up with murderous machines. When modern technology gets out of human control. Nightmare Weekend. The 21st century of terror. Rated R.
Greetings, fiends, and welcome to the Horror Mike Show on this fine and fiendish Friday evening. I'm your host, Horror Mike, and as you may have guessed, tonight we are diving into the 1980s. Oh yeah, folks, you know, a few weeks ago when I started getting into this decades thing for the shows, of course, last week we did the 1990s. And I started looking into the 80s. And this is definitely going to be a 2 or 3-parter. It might even be a 4-parter. Next week is definitely going to be, again, 1980s. It'll be part 2. Because there's a ton of stuff. Not only is there a ton of great stuff and not so great stuff on Tubi dealing with the 1980s sci-fi, horror, and exploitation film genres. There's other stuff that's not even on Tubi, and some of it's kind of rare. Some of it's no longer even in distribution. But I'm going to show you some stuff that you may have never seen before. And you may never want to see again. Okay. Or you might just be really, interested after you check out the trailers for some of these more obscure films. Now, as you just saw, we had a variety of films that we're going to be covering tonight. Much more than what you just saw, but a pretty good trailer mix that I did, featuring The Incubus, quite an interesting flick, highly recommended. Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity. Oh yes, you gotta check that one out. Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bolorama. Okay, we're talking Brink Stevens in that one, and also Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity. She's quite au natural in that flick, if you know what I mean. And I think that you do. Also, we, of course, looked at Life Force and Galaxy of Terror, kicked the entire trailer series off. So it is going to be one hell of a show, folks. And, of course, before that, my own films. First Man on Mars and HorrorAnthologyMovie.com. Horror Anthology Movie Volume 1. Good Lord. And I am dropping the link in the chat right now. In case you guys are interested in either film, Horror Anthology Movie Volume 1 is available on Amazon. You'll see the link on the website. And it's renting for $2. $2 to rent it, folks. It's 2 hours long, 6 segments of original indie sci-fi horror goodness. And, of course, First Man on Mars, which is new on Blu-ray for 2023. So I've been selling it for about a year now. And you can get your signed and numbered edition on my website as well, HorrorAnthologyMovies.com. When you buy a copy, it also comes with the automatic chance to win one of 2 movie props used in the film. So head on over to HorrorAnthologyMovies.com, First Man on Mars Blu-ray, as you see on the screen there, and check it out. Folks, it has been one hell of a week. I've been putting this show together and thinking about next week's show as well for the 1980s. I have fond memories. I was an 80s, teen. Well, late 70s, going into the 80s, teenager. I was right there, folks. Southern California, Los Angeles, Orange County, the whole deal. And it was one hell of a scene. Let's put it that way. How I'm still alive is a mystery. But before we dive into the 80s and get to our beloved chat, I want to point out a couple of things. Now, in 2 weeks, on June 28th, Friday night, June 28th, we are going to be talking about H.G. Wells' The Island of Dr. Moreau, the book, and how the book compares to the official movies that have been adapted from the book. That includes The Island of Lost Souls from 1932, the 1970s version of Island of Dr. Moreau with starring Michael York and I want to say, is it Burt Lancaster? Maybe. In any case, and then, of course, the 90s version with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando. Oh, yeah, you probably remember that one, don't you? Oh, yeah. So, in any case, we're going to be talking about the book. So, if you care to, kind of play along on that evening, June the 28th, Friday night, we're going to take like an hour out of the show, talk about the book, how it compares to the movies, and so forth. And this is going to be a series. It's what I call the Sci-Fi Horror Book of the Month Club. All the books that we look at have to be sci-fi horror, right? They have to have elements of science fiction and horror. And this is a perfect one to kick it off because Island of Dr. Moreau is beautiful. It's such a great novel. And of course, it has spawned 3 official adaptations and probably a dozen unofficial adaptations, aka takeoffs or ripoffs. So you can read this if you don't have a copy of the book, you can easily read it on, I want to say, Gutenberg.org. That's a place where you can find a ton of books that have been digitized, and they do carry The Island of Dr. Moreau. So you can watch it there. And Tubi carries at least one of the 3 films. I believe they have the 1970s version. My light is haunted, so that's what's going on here, folks. Let's see if that works. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. Maybe it's going out. I don't know. And in other news, folks, okay, I want to bring this to your attention. Yes, I have finished the first one. As I showed you guys before, I've got some new vampires sketch cover comic books. Now, this is the Bloodshot one-shot. And this is a sketch cover I just finished. So it is done. It's going up on eBay for sale. Now, I've got 2 more blank sketch covers. And I've already got a panel that I'm going to do an homage from for the next cover. But for the 3rd cover, I'm kind of thinking, if anybody's interested, all you got to do is go to my website, horroranthologymovies.com, and contact me through the email there. And what I'm thinking about is doing a custom piece based upon anybody that's interested in getting doing a commission for one of these. And I would go from, typically, of course, this is a panel from a 1950s pre-code horror comic book. Okay, and that's what I typically like to do with these covers, because this vampires comic book is all pre-code horror comics, right? So it fits, with the entire deal. But I would be willing to go from the 50s, from the pre-code era into the Bronze Age. If anybody's got like a favorite vampire, it has to be vampire. From the pre-code era to the Bronze Age, and you want a cover done, let me know, and we can talk about it. Now, I think I'll probably have the next one ready by next Friday. It depends on how things go, but this is definitely going up this weekend. And so there you go, folks. That is the other thing. And finally, some fairly good news on my book. I think it's back, folks. I think it's back. Yes, Pre-Code Horror Comics, the original art edition. Now, as I told you guys before, the first printing will be of 100, right? 100 copies for the first printing. The first 60 sold really quick, faster than I thought, so I ran out of copies. So I immediately went back to the printer and requested the other 40 copies to finish out the 100. And it turned into a freaking nightmare. So I dumped those printers. And then I started searching for another printer, got another printer. Here's the other printer. I just got a proof of this. Turned out beautifully. Show you a couple of things here. They did a fantastic job. Once again, this book is all about pre-code horror comics original art, whether it's the covers or stories themselves, right? As you can see there, that is Jack Sparling and his fantastic sci-fi horror story called Invasion. So, yeah, this is a brilliant on the back Warren Kremer cover that was never used for Black Cat Mystery. The amazing Warren Kremer. So there's a ton of stuff. Of course, the cover, as you probably are aware, that is from Weird Mysteries #4, done by the awesome Bernard Bailey. So this is a 126-page book. And so what's happened is they sent me the proof. I approved it. It's in the whatever printing stage. Now that means that it could be 2 or 3 weeks until I actually get the rest, the 40 copies, which would be the total for the first 100 printing. So when I get them, I'll let you know. But at least it is in progress. Let's put it that way, folks. It is in progress, and soon it will be back up on eBay and on my website and all that stuff. So people that didn't, get one of the first 60 can get one of the other 40, that are coming in. So things are looking up. They're definitely much better right now than they were. It was just a nightmare. God, man, I tell you, dealing with printers can be a pain in the arse, folks. That's what I'm saying right now. But so there's the news, folks. That's what's going on. And without further ado, let's head on over to the chat, shall we? Before we dive into the 1980s. Oh, yeah. Holy shit. Okay. Well, we've got a few comments. Shadowhawk is with us. Hello, Shadowhawk Talks. Hail, Horror Mike. And the Monster Chat. And hail right back at you, Shadowhawk. Apex Comics is with us. Hello, Apex Comics. Good to see you, my good fiend. Radamus is here. Hello, Radamus. How are you doing? Great to see you on this fine Friday evening. K. Ojo is here. Hello, K. Ojo from Raleigh, North Carolina. Great to see you, my good man. PBR Street Gang is here. Hello, PBR. Good to see ya. Eric Boyd is here. Hello, Eric. How are you doing? Hail and howdy, horror nauts. There you go. Joe is here tonight. The 80s, my favorite decade for horror. Bring on the spandex and the hair metal soundtrack. Next week is going to be definitely more of that. We've got some doozies for you next week on the 80s show part 2, folks. You're not going to want to miss that. You'll have to see it to believe it. That's all there is to it. We've got 8-Bit Snake Boy. I believe that's what it is. 8-Bit Snake Boy. I'm a simple man. I see a thumbnail with Galaxy of Terror and Matilda May. I click, and you have great reason to do so, 8-Bit Snake Boy, because I agree. Those combos are hard to resist, and that's why I put them on the thumbnail. Okay, folks, that's the stuff that draws. Think of a thumbnail as like the cover of a comic book or the cover of a book or a record album, whatever. That's what it is. Okay, and if people figure that out, then they'll be a lot happier. That's what I'm saying right now. Werewolf by Lunchtime is here. Hello, Werewolf. Great Scott. Let's get this 80s party started. Mike, good God, man, great to see you. Great to see you as well, Eric. Matilda May, yes, and she does. Okay, that's what I'm talking about here in Life Force, folks. She does, and for about, I don't know, at least 50% of the film, she is butt ass naked and just absolutely. I think that they were, we'll get into this, but they were looking for a woman with the perfect body that looks like, I don't know, something, well, that could be alien but humanoid, but with the perfect female body. And they got her. And it's absolutely stunning that the film, it's on Tubi, folks. We'll get into it. Life Force thumbnail. Oh yeah, you gotta have the Life Force. Dave James is here. Hello, Dave James. Saw this in the theater back in the day. Yes. Steve Harrison is also here. Hello, Steve Harrison. The 80s rocked. Conan, Predator, Freddy, etc. Oh God, there's so many. That's why I'm saying it's a multi-part series, folks. So, we're going to be at it for probably at least 3 episodes. And as I said, maybe 4. Hard to say. KO just transfers. Yeah, transfers, man. Tim Thomerson. I don't know about you guys, but Tim Thomerson was a dude primarily in the 80s and 90s, an actor. Of course, he, transfers. He was very famous for, especially the first couple of films, because he also co-starred with Helen Hunt, who just took off like a freaking, lightning bolt after those films, came out. Took off in the 90s. Jesus, the rest is history with Helen Hunt. But Tim Thomerson was in a variety of films. He was in, definitely several Full Moon Entertainment films, of course, and so forth. And he's a really good actor. One of those 80s greats, in my opinion. Werewolf says, hello to Mike and all in the chat. Steve says, Tim Thomerson, there we go. Used to be a comedian. He was very funny. Met him at a Chiller convention once. Nice guy. Excellent. Okay, I think he would be like somebody really cool to meet. BBR says, transfers, get to see Helen Hunt's backside. Dun, 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 dun. You're right. That's some Helen Hunt butt on the scene there, folks, in Transfers. Another reason to watch it. Okay. Other than the witty rapport, okay, the witty banter dialogue in the film. Eric says, was anyone cooler than Tim Thomerson? I think not. Okay, so we do have Tim Thomerson fans in the chat. This has been established. That's great because I put him on the thumbnail. I didn't know. I thought, well, people probably do like Transfers, but it's good to see people reacting. 8-Bit Snake Boy says, I saw Life Force at the local picture house as a teenager. I was surprised it bombed as it was pretty full. Yeah. I don't know. Life Force, it's Tobe Hooper. It's a Tobe Hooper film, folks. I think he was a really great director. I mean, the pinnacle for him may have been Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I thought he did a great job with Life Force and Poltergeist. Even though they were more, much bigger budget and more Hollywood-like films. Life Force is a weird film. It's a weird science fiction horror film. There's no doubt about that. It's just kind of odd, but it's very intriguing. I liked it. I've seen it several times. It's the 80s, folks. Anything goes in the freaking crazy and wild 1980s. We all know it. I'm currently watching Life Force on Tubi. You're seeing a lot of Matilda May. Oh, yes. Eric says, I'm loving every bit of this intro. I can get behind all of it up front and in your face, so to speak. Gary Carlisle is here on the scene. Hello, Gary. Great to see you. Kojo, Horror Mike. Yes, indeed. I am here. Kojo. Good Lord. Hey, Horror Mike. Hey, 8-Bit Snake Boy. Steve says, thank home video and cable stations for so much 80s goodness. Yes. There ain't no doubt about that. Once again, folks, that is horroranthologymovies.com. To pick up a Blu-ray copy of my film First Man on Mars, or rent Horror Anthology Movie Volume 1 for $2. That's a 2-hour horror anthology film with 6 segments. All of them, save for one, are sci-fi horror. Okay, there's only one supernatural segment in the 6 segments. So if you're into sci-fi horror, I think you should check it out, because I'm dealing with bio-nanotechnology in one segment, and what the hell is the other one? Oh, cordyceps principle, the real cordyceps principle, not the bullshit in that whatever the fuck it was, The Last of Us or whatever the hell that thing is, which is total bullshit science, folks. I use the real science, and it's much scarier in reality than The Last of Us. I'm just putting it out there. Eric says, damn typo, meant up front. Eric says, I rented and watched Horror Anthology Movie. I laughed, I cried, I peed my pants. There it is, folks, your testimonial. Just be wearing Depends when you check it out, apparently. Thank you, by the way, Eric. I appreciate that you rented my film, my good man. Keojo says, I was in kindergarten in the 1980s. Good Lord, man. Well, at least you can catch everything on the rewind. You missed the greatest decade of all, but at least you can catch it on the rewind. Radamas says, schlock. We're having a schlock fest. Oh, there's some good schlock. We got some classic cinema and some great schlock tonight, folks. And for the next several weeks, you're going to dig it. 1996. Okay. It's an arbitrary year, but we'll allow that. Okay, Ojo. Schlock rocks. 80 sci-fi horror exploitation films, the pinnacle of human civilization. That could very well be Dave James. Sweet, I have that edition of Moreau. Yes, it's a great edition. That is the SF Masterworks. And once again, folks, you can read it online. It's on Gutenberg.org. Highly recommended in 2 weeks doing an Island of Dr. Moreau bit for the sci-fi, to kick off the Sci-Fi Book of the Month Club. You are going to dig the hell out of it, man. Because, look, there's a lot of great sci-fi horror in, I keep just saying sci-fi, it's Sci-Fi Horror Book of the Month Club. There's a lot of great sci-fi horror that were originally books and then adapted to films, and that's what we're doing. Eric says, yes, it was Burt Lancaster. Thank you. I was thinking of LeVar Burton. That would have been an interesting take right there. Steve Harrison says, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror hit its stride in the 80s. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was, let's put it this way, science fiction and horror was huge, became real in the 1970s. And the 1970s, I think, contains the best films made of science fiction and horror. It's just the 80s just took off like a rocket. But we are going to, after the 80s, folks, we're going to the 70s. You'll see what I mean. The 1970s is just, wow. From 1970 to 1979, it's hard to beat. It really is hard to beat. Just for groundbreaking, incredible science fiction and horror films. Absolutely fantastic decade. I mean, I agree, though. The 80s was kicked ass. Royal ass. There's no doubt about it. I love both of them. Look, I was a kid in the 70s. I was, a teen and an adult, young adult, I guess, in the 80s. That was one hell of a time to be alive. Let's put it that way. I am one of us. Hello, I am one of us. Great to see you. Harrison. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Yeah, that's the 90s. Okay, let's get back into the 80s track, Kojo. Okay. PBR Street Gang, First Man on Mars, better than a three-breasted babe. Get it? The three-breasted babe was on Mars, folks. There we go. That's another testimonial from PBR Street Gang. Very nice sketch cover for the vampires. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that, my good man. Is it three-color, Mike? The Vampire Sonic. Red, black, and white. Okay. Oh, the vampire comic. Goddamn. The vampire comic, red, black, and white. Well, it is. I mean, okay, the cover is. Because this is, it's a sketch cover. So I did a black and white. Well, black ink. Of course, the top is red. And of course, the inside is all color. So, it's just like a normal comic book with all pre-code horror comics on the inside. And then I just do these sketch ones. Now, one of these things, I may try to colorize it. Possible. I might do that. I don't know. Radamus says the Ice Pirates, Outland, The Blob, The Hidden are some of my favorite sci-fi horror movies from the 80s. Yeah, I know. Just right there, The Hidden is just one of those gems, and we'll be covering that, not tonight, but probably, well, either next week or the week after, because The Hidden is just freaking great, man. And I agree, Outland, of course, High Noon in Space, fantastic, so well done. Sean Connery, top of his game. The Blob, the remake, absolutely top notch. I've covered that on the show before. Apex says, yes, got my copy of Pre-Code Horror Comics. Indeed. And I thank you, sir. And of course, we did you did the unboxing on your show, and I was on it, for Christ's sake. Apex says, Horror Mike, where did you get your books printed? Not quite yet. Apex, I will, let's put it this way. When I get the 40 copies and everything is cool, then I'll talk about the printer. But right now, I'm going to hold off from saying anything. But I will let you know. Apex, because I know you're looking. Steve says, Lost Boys, Evil Dead, Dawn of the Dead. No, Dawn of the Dead was 1979. And that's what makes the 1970s a fantastic era. Day of the Dead, of course, was the 80s. But yeah, man, I mean, even just the late 70s is just stunning. You have Alien, you have Dawn of the Dead. There's a ton, literally a ton of movies, right? You've got that really exceptional adaptation of Island of Dr. Moreau. I want to say that was 78. But a ton of great stuff was going on in the late 70s. So, I think both decades kind of complement each other in certain ways. Obviously, original films coming out in the 70s and then going into successful sequels into the 1980s, and some not so successful, as we shall see. Hey, Werewolf, thought of you as I caught Furiosa this week. Okay, now I may have to give you a timeout for doing that, Steve Harrison. I cannot believe that, man. I am one of us. So you're only getting 40 of your books printed. Yeah, a total of 100. I am one of us. I've already sold 60. I sold 60. They sold out. I had a nightmare getting the other 40 copies from the same printer, so I dumped that printer. Had to find another printer. I got the proof back from this new printer, and now it just started into the process of getting printed. So I figured 2 to 3 weeks and I'll have them. That's what I'm figuring. And of course, you will know it first here on the Horror Mike show, right? So that's the first printing. That will be the first printing, those 100. But there will be more after that. I'm just saying that's going to be like the first printing of the book. Werewolf of Lunchtime. Werewolf by Lunchtime. Damn. Something like that. Pop Culture Commerce is with us tonight. The best part of the week, Friday night with Horror Mike. I am so glad you are here, Pop Culture. Great to see you, my good man. Radamus, 80s big hair, big boobs, big everything. Oh, yeah, that was the thing about the 80s. It was just big. Dave James, Nightmare Sisters, 1988, with Scream Queen trifecta, Linnea Quigley, Michelle Bauer, and Brink Stevens. Good Lord, yes. Nightmare Sisters. God, I wonder if that's on Tubi. I'll have to check it out. I think it is. Well, it's going to be covered. Let's put it that way. Tove Hooper, Sci-Fi, Life Force. Alonzo Carminas is with us tonight. Hello, Alonzo. Amazing. Yes, and it's just started. Tim Thomerson used to be a stand-up comedian, as Steve was saying up there. Yes, indeed. And I heard something about that. I never saw any, or maybe I did, and I just forgot about it, like him doing stand-up comedy. But I could see it. I could totally see it, man. I like the Dollman movies. Full Moon Entertainment with Thomerson are great. At least the first couple of them. Dollman, yes. PBR says it's time for coolest white guy, Christopher Walken or Tim Thomerson. What I loved about the 80s is all the practical effects going on in sci-fi and horror films. That's what I love about the 70s and 80s in particular, folks. Very little to no CGI, of course, all practical makeup effects, blue screen. You had real ships, they used blue screen when you're going to do space sequences, optical printing, because everything was shot on film. Totally different ballpark. Steve says, what was the Tove Hooper 80s film with the cry? Eaten Alive, Steve Harrison. I'll watch anything with the Linnea Quigley in it. Indeed. Graphic Man is here tonight. Hello, Graphic Man. Great to see you. Kevin Hellon is with us. Hello, Kevin. Great to see you, my good man. And this fine. Hey, did you ever get a chance to watch Nightmare Weekend? Okay. We're gonna talk about that film. I did a video about Nightmare Weekend. You guys may have seen it. It's on my channel. I just did it a few days ago. Put it on the channel. We're talking about it tonight. It's a film you have to see to freaking believe. And there is a weird story behind it. I cover that in the video that I did, which explains stuff. Let's just put it that way, okay? 8-Bit Snake Boy says, I'll be keeping a lookout for the next run of pre-code horror comics art editions. I managed to pick up the first 4 UK editions of Vampirella recently. Ooh, they are in full color and look stunning. I didn't even realize they had done that. Whoa. That's very interesting, 8-Bit Snake Boy. I'll look for that. The UK editions of Vampirella. God, man, absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm trying to jam through these guys. Apex Comics Killer Sketch Cover Horror Mike. Thank you, Apex. I appreciate that. Unboxing show was cool. It's always great being on your show, Apex. Good Lord. You can catch Apex Comics there. Absolutely. Recommended, folks. Go on over, give them a like and a subscribe to Apex. Also, Eric Boyd, drop your link, for Christ's sake. My good man. Steve Harrison says Blade Runner, Road Warrior are 2 80s films that created countless ripoffs. Yes. Oh, God. Unbelievable. Smang that like. Creepazoids was a great alien ripoff with an au naturel Linnea Quigley bopping around in there. That alone makes it worth it. Okay, folks. Steve Harris and Tim Thomerson can be found on the old Comedy at the Improv videos on YouTube. He had great comic timing, was funny. Okay. Yeah, he's got it. Okay. Comedy at the Improv. Thank you. I'm going to have to look it up. I must have seen it. I just, forgot that he, or just, I cannot recall him doing stand-up. Kevin Helen, yes, I did. I liked it. Okay. Okay, great. That's Nightmare Weekend, folks. Apex says, yes, I saw a Nightmare Weekend video. I wrote it down for a future viewing. Excellent. Excellent. Saw Nightmare vid and it was great. The background was fun. Yeah. Really weird. Just a strange tale behind that film, folks. I would strongly suggest that you watch the film first, then go back and watch the video that I made about it. Then things will kind of click in, okay, and make a little more sense. It's one of the most insane sci-fi horror films I've ever seen. There's no doubt. And of course, it's a Trauma release, distributed by Trauma. So you know where that's going, right? Gotham City Comics is here. Hello, Gotham City. Great to see you, my good man. All right, folks. It's the 1980s. Let's just kind of set our clocks back to the good old days, the 1980s, when men were men, women were women, and sheep were scared. Something like that. I don't know. Werewolf says, instead of 3 parts, how about 1 9-hour show? I have all day. Good Lord, man. All right, folks. The 1980s. Tubi is all over it. As a matter of fact, if you are familiar with Tubi, you know one thing. They just have a buttload of 1980s films and 1970s films. Probably more so with those decades than any other decades. I would say. I mean, it is insane. We're talking hundreds of movies between those 2 decades. And a ton of them that are really good, that are worth, definitely at least worth seeing once. Let's put it that way. So what I'm going to do here, first I need to get over to the mighty Tubas. There are so many. Wait until you see what we got. Oh my God, next week. I mean, we're just getting warmed up with these folks. This is totally insane. All right. Good Lord. It is just, it's absolutely, Tubi is a miracle. It's a Festivus miracle. Let's put it that way. Well, here we go. I mean, just these 3 movies right here, we're starting off with. Jeez Louise, man. I've seen, let's put it this way, probably many of you that are in the chat have seen these films, all 3 of these films, more than once. I know I have. There is no doubt about that. Life Force, Invaders from Mars, which was a remake of a beloved 1950s sci-fi flick. And I think they did a great job. Of course, this one stars Karen Black. And I believe that was also directed by Tobe Hooper. I may be wrong. I am absolutely correct. So another Tobe, we've got, it was totally by chance, folks. Life Force, also Tobe Hooper directed film, and Invaders from Mars. Of course, Galaxy of Terror. That's just another, in another dimension. Okay. But first, let's take a little gander at Life Force, shall we? Now, this is another sci-fi horror film that was adapted from a book. And I want to say the author was Colin Wilson. Colin Wilson wrote the book, or it's a novella or a rather short novel. Okay. And so they adapted it to, the screen, and directed by Tobe Hooper, starring Nicholas Ball, Frank Finlay, Peter Firth, Matilda May, and Steve Railsback, who's also quite good in this film. As it says, a space shuttle discovers an alien spacecraft containing 3 frozen creatures. The crew decides to bring them to Earth. Of course, they always do that, where they soon awaken. Yes, of course. That's naturally going to happen. And, well, of course, folks, I mean, to kick it off, naturally, I have the trailer to Life Force. Check this out.
They watched. They waited. Now their time has come. Out of the depths of space, the ultimate terror. Moving, searching, destroying. From body to body, from life to life, from man to woman. Changing, growing, burning for our life force. From the director of Poltergeist, from the special effects creator of Star Trek, the motion picture, Life Force. In the blink of an eye, the terror begins.
There you go, folks. Now, I believe Life Force was also filmed almost entirely in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Colin Wilson, the original author of the book, is also British. So that's really good. And look, it's an intriguing film. It's 2 hours long. It is one strange sci-fi horror film, but definitely worth watching for many reasons. Matilda May being one of them. Okay, let's put it that way. But also, Invaders from Mars. If you guys haven't by chance seen this really great remake, that was one thing about the 80s, is that they managed to pull off some great remakes of 1950s sci-fi and or sci-fi horror films. Invaders from Mars is one of those. And I think it's because you had a lot of people that grew up, they were kids, right? In the 1950s, they grew up to be filmmakers in the 1970s and 1980s. Like Tobe Hooper, like Joe Dante, a ton of people. So they, of course, would occasionally take the opportunity to do a remake of one of their favorite films. So it's not like some jerk is just handed a script and saying, they're told to direct a movie. A lot of these films were labors of love by the directors that wanted to do their own homage to an original science fiction film from the 1950s. And in this case, it was Tobe Hooper who directed it. And of course, starring Karen Black, Timothy Bottoms, Bud Cort, Louise Fletcher, James Karen, Lorraine Newman, SNL's Lorraine Newman. Also in this film, folks. And as it says in the description, no one believes a boy who says he saw a spaceship landing near his home, except the alien vampires who plan to feed on his parents and neighbors. It's delightful. Both versions are delightful. I love the 50s version. I love the 80s version. Obviously in the 1980s, they had a larger budget. The effects are more advanced. The creatures are really cool. The prosthetic makeup effects are really groovy. It's excellent, folks. If you have not seen Invaders from Mars, put it on your to-be list or whatever platform you prefer. Next up, another one that, okay, look, it's not of the scope. How should I say this? It's not quite of the scope of Invaders from Mars or Life Force, but it is really good, and you got to see it. It's 1981's Galaxy of Terror, starring Freddy. Oh, yeah, Freddy Krueger himself. Robert Englund is in this film, as well as Sid Haig. 1981, folks. Neurotic astronauts, interesting way to describe them. Neurotic astronauts, Edward Albert, Aaron Moran, of course from Happy Days, Ray Walston, my favorite Martian, face a giant worm and other monsters on a distant planet. That's a kind of a basic layout of it. Directed by Bruce D. Clark. But also, yeah, of course, it says starring those three actors, as I mentioned, Robert Englund, Sid Haig, also in this film, and it's just a hoot. It's Roger Corman produced, and it's just like, look, Alien 1979 hit really big. It spawned a gazillion takeoffs, and this is kind of in that vein, of course. It's just more monsters in space and all that type of stuff. But man, there's some great scenes in Galaxy of Terror. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen it in a few years. I plan on watching. I may watch it this weekend, as a matter of fact. I think that may be something I'm going to have to do, because it's Galaxy of Terror. And of course, I have a really sweet video trailer for you now.
Prepare yourself for the ultimate battle. Galaxy of Terror. Hell has just been relocated. It orbits a burned-out star at the edge of the galaxy.
They're up here.
It's been waiting 1 billion years to scare you to death. Trapped in a living maze of terror.
What are the odds of us getting out of here?
What are the odds? We lose.
Stranded astronauts Edward Albert and Aaron Moran battle hordes of hideous shadow demons, encounter the razor-sharp living glass, brave the pit of doomed souls, just to discover the only way out is death.
Galaxy of Terror. The ultimate horror in space.
Yes, I say yes to that. Now that's one hell of a trailer, folks. They don't hold back. They don't censor, definitely. That trailer kicks royal ass. Let's just say some rather unhappy days for Aaron Moran in that particular film, Galaxy of Terror. It's just a hoot to watch. It's a hot mess of a flick, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of creatures. There's graphic gore. There's definitely an abundance of TNA, and pretty juicy TNA, I might add, in Galaxy of Terror. So highly recommended. What a great way to kick off this evening show with these 3 films. Let's continue on, shall we? And we're staying on with the quality here, folks. Next up we have Brainstorm. You may recall that one. Natalie Wood, Christopher Walken, 1983 science fiction film. Rather serious, as they say, sci-fi drama thriller. Right here. After creating a device that allows people to experience others' sensations, scientists try to keep their invention from being put to nefarious uses. Christopher Walken, Natalie Wood, Louise Fletcher, Cliff Robertson, for Christ's sake, in this film. And of course, directed by none other than Douglas Trumbull. Now, Douglas Trumbull was a special effects master. He worked on a ton of freaking movies, including Silent Running. That was one of his big babies. Let's take a look and see if... Well, they do have one more. Oh, okay. Yeah, he must be interviewed in this documentary, Chesley Bonestell, A Brush with the Future, about Chesley Bonestell, the artist that did a lot of sci-fi pulp covers and stuff. But yeah, Douglas Trumbull got around. He was a fantastic special effects wizard, and he directed Brainstorm. Oh, they're gonna start playing it. And it's highly recommended. You know, if you haven't seen it, it's a good 80s science fiction film. It's about all I can say about it. Let's get back into some more fun, though, shall we, with Trancers. Oh, yeah, we've been waiting for this one, folks. 1984, Tim Thomerson, Helen Hunt, Full Moon Entertainment, sci-fi action. A gruff bounty hunter travels back in time to the 1980s Los Angeles to stop a twisted criminal who can transform people into zombie-like creatures. Oh, yeah. Tim Thomerson, Helen Hunt. There you go. It's what you need to know. And, of course, directed by Charles Band himself. Good God, it is Trancers. You know, of course, let's put it this way, folks. The film was popular. It did very well at the box office, well enough to eventually spawn, I believe, 5 more films. Yes, 5 more Trancers films. The first 2 Trancers films have Helen Hunt. I think that was it for her. But I think all of the Trancers films have Tim Thomerson, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, of course, naturally, I do have a nice trailer for this one that you got to check out.
I'm Jack Death. I'm a trooper in the 23rd century.
Jack Death, Angel City PD. May I see your stats?
What did I do?
Under Section 7 of the Penal Code, the Council authorized me to administer you a transfer suspect examination.
You can't give me a TSE without a warrant.
I got your warrant right here, pal.
Okay. I don't want any trouble.
Hold out your...
My job is hunting Trancers.
I got nothing to hide.
Finding them.
Negative.
And singeing them.
Look out!
Of course, sometimes they find me first. Then it's a little more complicated.
How do you know Whistler's location?
We monitored a line disruption in Los Angeles, December 1985. Van Zandt, Ash, and I all had ancestors in the city then.
If you think I'm bringing that scum up the line, you got the wrong trooper.
Unless you stop Whistler, everything the Council has accomplished for the last 40 years will count for nothing.
Okay, let's say I believe this. You're a cop from the future and you're chasing this guy Piper.
Whistler.
Why doesn't he just turn you into one of these zombies? Or me?
Trancing only works on squids, people with weak minds, easily controlled. Lena, I'm from another time, another world. I don't even know what you people eat for lunch.
Okay, I got fried rice, egg rolls, and beef chow mein.
Beef? You mean like from a cow?
I thought it was rough in the 23rd century. I didn't know how hot it could get.
Jack?
How's my tan? It was getting hotter all the time.
Jack?
I guess I just attract a certain element no matter what century I'm in.
This way, mister!
Anyway, I gotta run now.
I want to ride with the lady.
Over here, Ashby!
Jesus! Sure enough, glad I kept my cop coat.
Jack Death is back. And he's never even been here before. Trancers.
There you go, folks. Rather long trailer, almost 3 minutes long. They could have tightened that up a little, in my opinion, but still, it's a very good film. Both Trancers, definitely, at least Trancers 1 and Trancers 2 are on Tubi. I think a few other ones are also on Tubi as well. But start off, if you haven't seen any of the Trancers movies, absolutely start with the first one. It's just really entertaining, you know. I mean, come on, you got a moped chase sequence. You got, Jack Death, Tim Thomerson, of course, in the obligatory bar battle with 3 punk rockers. Oh, my God. Hilarious. Let's get back to the chat. Apex says 80 sci-fi and horror, the best decade. I saw a new Tubi commercial where Tubi is more popular than Baby's Fun commercial. Hilarious. Space vampires. Can't beat it. You can mute Tubi. Apex. Okay. Space vampire girl Psy. Yes. Matilda May. Kevin. That's the girl. She's the girl, as David Lynch once said in a movie. Or did it was either she's the girl or that's the girl. That was in Mulholland Drive, I believe. And of course, Lynch is coming in, folks. Oh, you know Lynch is coming into the 80s. Good. And the 70s. 70s and 80s for Lynch. PBR Street Gang Festivos equals feats of strength and airing of grievances. Festivus. Yes. Festivus. Indeed. Apex after Werewolf News versus the Nudist Colony. Mike could write and direct Space Vampire Girl. Life Force also features Patrick Stewart. You are correct, as the doctor at the psychiatric hospital. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I liked that it had almost a Hammer feel, mostly because of the English cast. Yes. Eric says, oh, shoot. How can we forget about Werewolf versus Nudist Colony? 8-Bit Snake Boy, James Cameron, was the set designer, art consultant on Galaxy of Terror. Correct. So it has that Aliens vibe to it. Yes. On a very, very much lower budget. Yes. Kind of like a, I don't know. Yeah. Discount Aliens budget. Let's put it that way. Apex Comics, Joni, Uncle Martin, and Friend versus Galaxy of Terror. John Cameron did effects and scenery, Galaxy of Terror. He bought hundreds of styrofoam McDonald's boxes to line the walls of the ship. Looked great. I think he did a great job with that. I wish he had stuck with just doing set design. Nurse Ratchet, yikes. Yes, that is Louise Fletcher. Eric says, thank you, giant alien worm, for making sure the victim was undressed before consuming her. Was Freddy in Galaxy of Terror 2? Yes, that was Robert Englund. Yep. That's one throwing arm. Indeed. Galaxy of Terror with little aliens. 8-Bit Snake Boy, crazy to see Sid Haig, Robert Englund, and Aaron Moran in the same movie, plus giant maggot sex, bonkers stuff. Yes. It's one insane film, folks. If you haven't by some chance seen it, you got to check it out. It's on Tubi. I meant James Cameron, the earlier effect statement, indeed. I think the Dickies had an Xmas song in Trancers, Silent Night. You may be correct, Steve. I'm going to have to go back and check that out. Thanks for bringing that up. That would mean, let's take a look at that. I'm just going to go to IMDb real quick here, folks. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I'm just going to, oh, shit. There we go. I'll put this up on the screen, folks. The Primevals is live. You can rent it, as far as I know, only on Amazon Prime right now. They are taking pre-orders for Blu-rays and DVDs, but I don't think they're going to start shipping until October, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be a little while before you could get a Blu-ray or DVD. This is the Dave Allen animation film, folks, from Full Moon Entertainment. How many years in the making? 30 years in the making. The Primevals. And it is officially live. I plan on renting it in the next few days on Amazon Prime. I think it's $5 to rent it, but what can you do? You know, it's $5. Gotta watch this film because it is Dave Allen animation, and it looks great. If you want to watch a trailer, there are trailers for the Primevals on YouTube. So I just wanted to point that out. But in any case, I digress. Trancers. I'm looking up on IMDb right now. Because if that is true, yeah, here we go. All cast and crew. Well, maybe it's in the. No, not there. Let's go all cast and crew. Maybe it'll have a music credit. Jesus God. I don't know. Oh, well, here's a Dickie's Wikipedia. Okay. Something. Trancers. No, it's not showing up there either. I don't know. I'll have to check that out, Steve Harrison. If the Dickies version of Silent Night, which is fantastic, by the way, folks, if it is in Trancers, that would mean that the Dickies have had songs, of course, naturally, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And that was the biggie with the theme song, which is fantastic. You can watch that on YouTube. They also had the Banana Splits theme song, which occurs in Kick-Ass, the movie, when Hit Girl is just wiping out all those drug dealers in that house. That is just hilarious. And that if it's Trancers, then that means at least 3 movies that the Dickies had songs in. Absolutely fantastic. The Dickies, one of my favorites. One of the great, they started, of course, in the late 1970s, punk rock group, but strange, not your average punk rock group. Definitely sci-fi, horror, and fantasy oriented. They love to do stuff. Their second album, well, their first album was The Incredible Shrinking Dickies. And then the second album was Dawn of the Dickies, which featured a great cover that was a takeoff on Dawn of the Dead. And that was circa 1980. Just after that movie had come out. So they were all into sci-fi and horror, which is something I loved about the Dickies. And they ended up in movies. There you go. It's a natural. And they were definitely a punk group that had a lot of talent too. They definitely very good musicians. So that helped a lot, But very interesting. I'm going to check further into that. Steve Harrison. 8-Bit Snake Boy says, Brainstorm is a masterpiece, exploring VR before anyone had even thought about it. Rip Natalie Wood. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is an excellent film. Highly recommended, folks. And it is currently on Tubi. Trancers was such a great series of movies. Dumb, but so much fun. Yes, Tim Thomerson is so snarky, it rocks. Yeah, and that was something about a lot of full moon entertainment films. Definitely entertaining, maybe low on the brain cells, but a lot of fun. For some reason, Trancers reminds me of Judge Dredd. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some influence there. Werewolf. Radama says, is Trancers a Blade Runner ripoff? No. I mean, once again, it might have been inspired by Blade Runner. A lot of films were definitely inspired by Blade Runner 1982. Trancers, the first one is 1984. So they may have drawn inspiration, but conceptually speaking, it's different. I really liked Night of the Comet. Yes, we're about to get to that, mostly because I have a thing for Nancy Allen. Wait a second. Was Nancy Allen in there? We'll have to check it out. Are you sure? Pop Culture Commerce, the stats show Tubi is about to surpass Disney Plus. They should kick their royal butt. They should stomp Disney Plus into the fucking ground. Pardon my French. That would be so great. Yeah, Disney spent several billion on Disney Plus. Yeah. It's so great, man. I love seeing Disney get just totally trashed. It's a wonderful thing to behold. 8-Bit Snake Boy says, hardly surprising. Disney Plus is absolute garbage. Yes. I've seen absolute garbage that was better than Disney Plus. I'm telling you. Eric Boyd says, oh, okay, yeah, the Primevals, the movie that's been in production for quite some time. Yeah, the unfortunate passing of Dave Allen, the master stop-motion animator, one of the greats of all time, unfortunately died rather young, and the film was shelved, and Charles Band did everything he could to revive it, to make that film happen, and he did. He and some other people with Full Moon Entertainment, and it's live, folks. It is on Amazon Prime. Just great, man. Yep, the Primevals with Juliette Mills. Be careful how you Google Dickies. The Banana Splits with Hit Girl. Yeah, it's such a great, I just love that scene. Oh my God. Steve Harrison, there is a bar scene in Trancers, and that's when Silent Night plays. It may not have been Dickie's playing it. It may have been actors lip syncing. Okay, well, somebody must have originally played it. I'll have to check it out. And was that, now, Steve, was that in the first Trancers film? I don't recall. Oh, maybe that was the bar scene, and then he gets into the bar fight with the punk rockers. I bet you that's it. Okay, I got to watch that this weekend. Catherine Mary Stewart, so hot, also in The Last Starfighter. That's what we're about to get to here, folks. We're talking Night of the Comet. Oh, yeah. 1983, a really good flick. Another one, man. You know? And, okay, yeah, this one was a PG-13 flick. You know, there's, from what I recall, no nudity. I mean, there is some, you know, kind of titillation. Let's put it that way. A little bit of gore, maybe, but it's just a really good story. Very well done and very 80s. Oh, my God, this is just nailing the 80s right on the head. As it says, when a passing comet snuffs out most of humanity, a pair of very 80s valley girls hit them all and battle hordes of bloodthirsty zombies. Catherine Mary Stewart, Kelly Maroney, Robert Beltran, also in this film, Mary Warrenoff. Woo, doggy. Mary Warrenoff. Check this out. I'm just going to click on Mary Warrenoff's name real quick. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, folks. Mary Warrenoff in Silent Night, Bloody Night. She is just, God, a young Mary Warrenoff. That's 1972. We're going to be covering that one in the 70s show. Watchers 2, 1990. She's also in that. Of course, Death Race 2000. She is in that as Calamity Jane. House of the Devil. Yep. Good Girls Don't. Blood Theater. She's in all those. Rock and Roll High School. Of course, she's the principal there. Of course, she is from Night of the Comet. Hollywood Man. She's also in Hollywood Boulevard. She is in a ton of freaking movies on Tubi. Mary Warrenoff. She was like I was definitely, let's say, smitten with Mary Warrenoff in the 80s. There was just something about that chick that kind of drove me wild. Mary Warrenoff, folks. And so, yeah, Night of the Comet, fantastic. Highly recommended on Tubi, folks. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Here we're going to take a trip into the weird lane here, folks, for a second. Oh, my God. 1981 also spawned Escape from Galaxy 3. Oh, boy. Yeah, this is one what the hell fucking movie. I'm telling you right now. As it says, now this is what it says. The crew of an alien spaceship confronts an evil galactic ruler who aims to take over the universe and lands on Earth for sexy adventures in love. And you know what I'm talking about? It's got to be Italian. Of course it is. And it's directed by Vito Albertini and starring Fausto Di Bella, among others. Well, Sherry Buchanan is also in this film, and Don Powell. They did get some English actors in this, but I mean, I've seen it. Seeing it once was enough. Yeah, there you go. Sexy adventures in love. Escape from Galaxy 3, folks. Yes, it does deliver with, you know, some sex and nudity. That's about it. Now, 1986's Nightmare Weekend. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, folks, if you haven't seen Nightmare Weekend, I don't know what to say, because it's one of the most insane sci-fi horror films I've ever seen in my life. And it turns out there's a reason for that. There's a reason why it seems so disjointed and psychotic. If you watch my video, it's on my channel. I just put it out a couple of days ago on Nightmare Weekend. You'll see you'll understand more about this film, but I definitely recommend that you watch the film first and then watch the video. As it says here, when a scientist performs behavioral experiments on 3 college girls, her mad assistants, that's wrong. When a scientist performs behavioral experiments on 3 college girls, his mad assistant turns the subject into drooling, murderous mutants. That's basically the gist of it. You got a scientist who's not a mad scientist. He seems like a normal type of guy. He's doing behavior modification experiments, and he has been experimenting on a Doberman Pinscher, who's very aggressive Doberman Pinscher, and the Doberman Pinscher becomes docile, and it seems like the experiment's working on animals, on dogs. And his assistant, who's very sleazy, wants to hurry up and do the human trial. So she invites these 3 girls to this mansion over the weekend as the subjects, as the human subjects for this experiment. But there's also like the scientist's daughter, who has a computer that's linked to an AI puppet, hand puppet, that kind of looks like Kukla from Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. You'll see it. I'm about to show you the trailer to this freaking insane movie. Now, it does deliver the goods. There's some gore. There's definitely sex, absolute TNA all over the place. It delivers in many aspects. And the only thing I can say, watch the first 30 minutes of this film. And then if you think it's intriguing, watch the rest of it. I think that's what I'm, going to say. My advice to anybody that wants to check out Nightmare Weekend. It is unique. There is no doubt about that. It is a unique freaking movie. And I've got a little bit of a trailer for you right here.
You are about to enter the 21st century of terror. Nightmare Weekend, when computer technology goes mad.
Now you're gonna die! Die!
And high-tech action gets out of control. Nightmare Weekend. A group of college students were invited to spend a pleasure weekend in a mansion. But instead experienced a nightmare weekend. Nightmare Weekend. The first high-tech terror film. Witness an experiment so frightening that it will never leave your mind.
Die!
Experience a lust for power so gruesome that you may lose your mind. Nightmare Weekend. When horrifying humans team up with murderous machines. When modern technology gets out of human control, the action never stops. Nightmare Weekend. It's the first high-tech terror. Nightmare Weekend. The 21st century of terror. Rated R.
There you go, folks. There you have it. That is the trailer. That's the trailer for Nightmare Weekend from 1986, distributed by Trauma Films. Now, I'm going to head back over to the chat because I think this is a good place to... I think some people have probably chimed in about this hot mess of a film. Let me get back up. See where we're at here. First film, Dickie Sing, maybe actors lip singing. Okay. Gotham City Comics, one of my favorites. One of the zombies scared the crap out of me as a kid. Yes. Eric says, since Horror Mike said it was okay for me to post this, here's a link to my channel. Would love to have you visit and more. There it is, folks. Check out Eric Boyd's channel. Go over there and give him a subscribe, if you will. 8-bit Snake Boy says, oh my God, that's Mary Warrenoff, not Nancy Allen. Yes. And she is just magnifique. C'est magnifique is in Mary Warrenoff. You know what I'm saying? I think that you do. Oui. Oh, yes. Man, she's so ultra hot as Calamity Jane in, Death Race 2000. Good Lord. Yikes. Those legs, the Mary Warrenoff legs, folks, they go like all the way up to Alaska. Let's put it that way. Apex says, yes, sub to Eric Boyd and watch him draw. Great channel, yes. And as well as Apex Comics. Highly recommended. Shadowhawk says, hail Apex, Eric Boyd, the chat. He's back. Shadowhawk, good Lord. Okay, here we go. Escape from Galaxy 3 is awful. Sometimes called Star Crash 2. God. Star Crash 2 Electric Boogaloo. For what it's worth, Star Crash is hilariously so bad. It's good. Yeah, God, Carolyn Monroe. Are you... Now, back off my Carolyn Monroe, 8-bit Snake Boy. Okay? Just back on off. Because Carolyn Monroe can do no wrong. And I'm going to prove that right now. Okay? Good Lord. I've got to do this, folks. Somebody's mentioned Carolyn Monroe. And you know what I'm saying. I think that you do. Okay? Now. Yeah, and of course Star Crash is going to come in. That was 1970s. That's me. Yeah, that's Horror Mike when I was a young teenager at the age of 16. Yeah, and that's Caroline Monroe. I went to a convention and got a photo with that hottie, snuggled right up to her. Good Lord. And that, yeah, that's right. That was her Star Crash body right there, folks. Caroline Monroe. Your favorite nerd, Horror Mike. Up close and personal. Now, what happened, of course, God, I've got the original. I've got it right here, as a matter of fact. I had to make a copy of that because here's it. So when I got the thing, it comes, originally at this convention. It was a Pittsburgh convention. And so there's the original photo. And then you can see on the other side where Caroline Monroe signed it. And it got a stain on it. It got a stain on it. It was stuck together for a while. No, just kidding. Or am I? But no, I don't know. Look, folks, this thing is what you're looking at. So this is 1979. I'm 16-ish. So this thing is like 45 years old. The photo and her signature from a convention. I'm just a teenager, all right? And I got to grasp that Caroline Munro body, if only for, a few seconds. It was a highlight of that time. Let me put it that way, folks. Caroline Munro. And I was just, she was another one where I was just like nuts for Caroline Munro. I mean, Maniac, or no, what it wasn't. No, the last horror film. That was it. She was in. Fuck, I forget. She was definitely in the last horror film with Joe Spinell, and of course Stella Star Crash, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Let's say no more. Say no more. The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, At the Earth's Core. Remember that one with Caroline Munro? She's just. It was, she made the films 3D without any actual 3D technology, folks. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah. So in any case, yeah, Star Crash is a great movie. That's what I'm saying, with Caroline Munro. Shadowhawk says, Mr. Muck Part 2 coming from Golden Era Comics soon, folks. That is Eric Boyd's baby right there. Steve Harrison, when I heard you describe the making of Nightmare Weekend, it reminded me of the chaos from Richard Stanley's Isle of Lost Souls. Yeah, I can't even believe it. Folks, watch Nightmare Weekend, then watch the little 8-minute video that I made about it, which will give you some background into that insane production. Wow. 8-Bit Snake Boy, loving this live stream, by the way, Horror Mike. Thank you, 8-Bit Snake Boy. I'm glad to have you here. Everyone, obviously, it's great to see you all. People that are, in the chat or just watching the show. Welcome to the show on this fine and fiendish Friday evening. Eric says, sadly, no, it isn't. Shadowhawk Talks Golden Era Comics has stopped publishing. I said in my last stream, I am compiling chapters 1 and 2 into an ash can. Let us know, Eric, when that is ready. That sounds good, man. Do it. Apex says, Lloyd Kaufman, eat your heart out. It is a good one, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you. Hell yes. Oh, yes. Shadowhawk says, oh, shit. Sorry, Eric. Sorry to hear about that. Full speed ahead anyway. I'll be buying it. I haven't seen Nightmare Weekend yet. Well, it's on Tubi. 8-Bit Snake Boy. You got to check it out. You have to see it to believe it. That's all I'm telling you guys. I'm not saying it's a great film. I am saying that it's a sci-fi horror film with some really great stuff in it. It is a complete hot mess. And some people have called it, personally, the worst film they've ever seen. I completely disagree with that. I've seen far worse films on Tubi. Oh, my God. There is no doubt about it. The thing about Nightmare Weekend is that it's got the stuff going for it. It's got what I would call a very interesting, unusual plot. It's got, of course, the TNA. It has some gore. It's not like it's a boring film that just kind of, sits there and has no action to it. It moves. The film does move. It does actually, it paces along. It's just that it's a psychotic mess of cinema. That's all. It's really hard to say anything else about it. It's nuts, man. It is nuts. AI puppetry. Okay. Beat that. AI and puppets, hand puppets that look like Kukla from Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. Best breakfast show in the universe. Thank you, Werewolf. I appreciate that, my good man. Gotham City says, just invited my customer Matt to come over here. Excellent. Thank you, Gotham City. Folks, Gotham City Comics, too. Of course, not too long ago, we did a live show with Gotham City where he unveiled that fantastic Invasion of the Saucermen full-size prop, which is currently in his store, which you have to see to believe. So if you want to check that out, it's on my channel, the live show, or you can go over to Gotham City Comics channel, because he did do, I believe, a video showcasing the Invasion of the Saucerman prop. Werewolf says, even my cat Rico watches the show. I will post a pic of Instagram proving this. There you go. All right. Hail Gotham City Comics, Apex Horror Mike, you lucky dog. Yeah, that was something. I'm telling you. Something I'll never forget. He duct taped it down before the picture was taken. Cats love horror shows. Shadowhawk. Very nice. You don't have to sell me on Caroline Monroe. I was already sold in the 70s. Horror Mike, yes. She was just... she was just one of those. She was a goddess of the 70s and 80s. I think a screen goddess, you know, kind of a scream queen, I guess. You know, she was in a few scream queen types of films. I would, obviously she was in Star Crash. She was in The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. I don't consider those scream queen films by any stretch, really. So there was a variety for Caroline Monroe. And she was just, God, stunning. Absolutely. God, you know, I don't know. What kind of stain, Horror Mike? Yeah. That's the type of stain that we don't like to talk about on a family show. Oh, wait a second. This isn't a family show. Well, you see what happened is I was holding the picture and excuse me. Eric says, all those great movies with Caroline Monroe. She was super sexy. As the sexy librarian in Adam Ant's Goody Two Shoes music video. Yes, I remember that one, Eric. I think she may have been in a few other music videos too. I first noticed Caroline in Kronos the Vampire Hunter. Yep, and At the Earth's Core. Yes, he is busting out all over. Shadowhawk, going to find Nightmare Weekend after this stream. It's on Tubi, Shadowhawk. You got to check it out on the Tubi. It's quite good. I do not know. I have not heard nor seen Nightmare Sisters. Glad you mentioned it. Must see. Nightmare Weekend also sounds like a must see. Yes, indeed. It is a must see. For some, I don't know, you know, not quite sure why, but it is. I want to see Invasion of the Saucermen. Well, the film is on YouTube, Apex. If you want to see the full prop, head on over to Gotham City Comics channel or watch the live show on my. And there you go. Eric Boyd has dropped it. Thank you, Eric. There's Gotham City Comics. Werewolf says, I have 2 pics up now of Rico watching this week's episode. No duct tape in sight. Dave James rewatched Night of the Comet last week. Still fun. Caroline Monroe is also in The Spy Who Loved Me, of course. Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt about it. She was completely James Bond rated. Let's put it that way, folks. Back in the late 70s, 80s, Caroline Monroe was like, okay, look, you know, I don't know. She wasn't an actress that was going to win any Academy Awards. So, you know, she was competent enough. Let's put it that way, in my opinion. She was fine. Yeah, The Spy Who Loved Me. Great. That was the one. Has anyone found a decent copy of Invasion of the Saucermen? The only one I found is super grainy and hard to see. I thought there was a fair copy on YouTube. Isn't there? Okay, it's playing on, I thought it was also on Tubi, Eric. I don't know which one that is, if it's cleaned up or not, but she was Playboy material. Yeah, no nudity. That was one thing about Caroline Munro. She never did nudity, and that, of course, she lost parts because of that. But that's all, they look, if it's no nudity, it's no nudity. And that's one funny thing, folks, is that, a lot of the actresses in the 70s and 80s, of course, did nudity. Some of them did a lot of it. Caroline Munro did not. And she managed to be really hot and very popular for years by not doing any nudity. Put it that way. I think I have all of her movies on DVD. The aura of 70s sex appeal, yeah, and into the 80s. Ain't no doubt about that. She kind of spanned 2 decades, the 70s and 80s. In my opinion, she was just uber hot in that period. Valerie Leone from the Carry On movies. Wow, you don't hear about her often. Carry On Screaming, I believe, is on Tubi. Those parts she lost, where did you bury them? Lol. Some crypt humor. All right, folks, let's get back to it, shall we? And that means we're getting back to Amazons. We're not going to be on here long, folks. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that's a Boris Vallejo cover for the Amazons movie. I don't know. I see a signature down there. I just can't make it out, but it looks very Boris to me. Somebody may know. Otherwise, look, I just brought this film on here to demonstrate that, yes, there were a plethora of sword and sorcery flicks. Of course, in the 80s, you had Conan, which spurred on a ton of these movies, and some of them are on Tubi as well, including Amazons from 1986, and that's all we're going to really look at. That here's another one. I had to bring this one up too, Deathstalker. And they like to do one of two things, either with the posters. As you can see, they either love to do they would use Frank Frazetta paintings or rip him off, or they would use Boris paintings or rip him off. One of the two for a lot of these sword and sorcery flicks like Deathstalker 1983. As it says, a medieval muscle man sword fights a sun lover on his way to free a princess from a wizard's castle. And of course, Barbie Benton is in this. Yes, folks, that's Barbie Benton. She was, she was definitely Hugh Hefner's girlfriend for a while. Didn't they get married too? And she's definitely in at least 1 or 2 Playboy issues, as I recall vividly. Okay. Barbie Benton, folks. Oh, yeah. So that's one reason kind of to check out this film. If you like to see some, I don't see something. Yeah, it's R-rated. I wonder if she's actually does nudity in this flick. I don't remember. I just do not recall. But I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put it that way, folks. That's Deathstalker 1983. Now let's get to some real stuff here. With Charles Band, once again, Charles Band is back. One of the kings of the 1980s. Definitely, no doubt. With Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, the original cult classic. Okay, I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely worth seeing. As they have it listed here, horror, comedy, fantasy, sci-fi. Rated R from 1987. Two crafty young women escape a space gulag, only to crash land on a nearby uninhabited jungle planet. A madman who hunts people for sport calls home. And, of course, we have Cindy Beale, Elizabeth Kaitan, Brink Stevens as the three main chicks in this film, and that's pretty much all that matters, with slave girls from beyond infinity. And fortunately, I got a little bit of a trailer here for you guys, which is pretty amusing.
Feels good to be back in the saddle again.
She deserved better than this. She sacrificed herself for me. Fate certainly weaves a twisted tapestry. If only the slavers had passed us by. If. I'm sick of ifs. If life wasn't so cruel, everything would be beautiful. Life doesn't care. Look at this jungle. Everything in it survives by killing something else.
You know, there's one thing, if I remember one thing about Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, it's the incredible acting. I'm just going to let that hang there for a second. In any case, of course, fortunately, Brink Stevens is au natural in a good portion of this. Well, at least for the first half of the film. Anyways, and you got a couple of hot blondes. So, look, for TNA value, it's definitely worth seeing. And I would also add that Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama, also with Brink Stevens and Linnea Quigley, amongst others, is also quite worth the time. I think Sorority Babes is a better film. It's funnier. It's more creative. And we're going to take a look at that right now. Let's head on over. Of course, this is yet another Full Moon Entertainment film directed by David Decoteau, who did a lot of stuff. He did a few of the Puppet Master films and all kinds of stuff. I believe the Subspecies films from Full Moon? He did a few of those. As it says here, a college ritual goes wrong when three sexy sorority girls steal a bowling trophy, releasing a devilish imp who makes their night a living hell. Yes, Linnea Quigley, Michelle Bauer. Woo, good Lord. Woohoo. I'm telling you, of course, Brink Stevens is also in this film, Robin Rochelle as well. And this one is it's more, to me, it's just funnier. I don't know, it's got a lot going for it, I would say. I definitely, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I've seen it a couple of times. It's got a really cool little imp character that's pretty damn funny, actually. And of course, and it's got some fantastic TNA. I love the poster as well. Actually, I love both of these posters. If you look at the Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity poster, that's beautiful. And the Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama. Very, very well done, And so 80s. Just so wonderfully 1980s, both of them, But let's take a look. Yeah, I got a short trailer for Sorority Babes, folks. Let's check it out.
The Tri-Delta sororities having their initiation tonight.
Yeah? Delta Delta?
It's part of the ritual.
You make it sound like we're devil worshippers or something.
An infraction will require punishment. Painful punishment.
We're only looking.
I'm gonna break into the bowling alley at the mall tonight. Bring me back some kind of souvenir as proof that you were there.
Jeez, this place is weird.
Well. Company's arrived.
Nowhere to run to.
Just great, man. I love the trailer. All the girls were up for it. Michelle Bauer is just red hot in this film. She's so cute and yet so devilish at the same time. You know, she just has that look about her that is, yeah. Linnea Quigley, of course, and Brink Stevens, and a couple of those other girls whose names I have no idea. The blonde who's paddling Brink Stevens towards the beginning of the trailer. She's pretty hot. And it's funny. The creature, the little imp, is pretty hilarious. And it's just an entertaining flick, entertaining enough to spawn a sequel. There has been, in the 21st century, a sequel was made that you may be aware of. And it is also on Tubi, folks, just to let you know. Sorority Babes Part 2 is on Tubi. All right. Let's go on up. Let's move on up to the east side here. That is a cover. That's a cover that it's so blatant and yet so entrancing at the same time. Vampires on Bikini Beach, 1988, folks. Let's take a look. Hard bodies, hot waves, and rock and roll rule the beach. That is until a rash of bizarre murders hits a Californian seaside community. Oh, yeah. Jennifer Badham is in this. Todd Kaufman. And directed by Jerry Brady. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find a trailer that was better than, let's say, 180p. And I'm not going to subject you to a crap trailer. You know, one that's just, I just won't do it. It's got to be like at least 480p and decent looking before I show it on the show. That's it, man. You know, and preferably, of course, 720p or 1080. So there was nothing, folks. I don't have a trailer for you. I've seen a bit of Vampires on Bikini Beach, and yeah, it delivers with some really great TNA. I love the poster. That's probably the greatest thing about this film, is that poster with the bats on her breasts, and then, of course, the bat bikini bottom there. Yeah, that's quite nice. It's quite nice indeed. And next up, yeah, we've got 1980, just squeaking into the 80s. But of course, it happened for, well, a couple of years anyways. In the 80s, the Hammer House of Horror. Let's take a look for a second. We got, they only have season 1 here. Now, I could have sworn there were 2 seasons. I may be wrong. In any case, as it says, terror awaits in this anthology series from Britain's famed Hammer Studios, featuring stories of haunted houses, demons, and other macabre delights. Of course, starring Peter Cushing, Brian Cox, Rachel Davies, Diana Dors, Denham Elliott, among others. And I do have this on DVD. I've got the DVD. I thought it was 2 seasons, though, on my DVD. I may be wrong about that, but it's, look, like every other freaking anthology series, it's hit and miss. Some of the episodes are very good. Some of them are flat as a board. You know, that's basically how it runs with every horror anthology series I've ever seen, including Tales from the Crypt. You guys know what I'm talking about. But it is on Tubi. It is in the 1980s, just squeaked on into the 1980s, and I do recommend it. You know, it is, after all, the Hammer House of Horror. Next up, ooh boy, The Incubus, 1982. Now, this may have originally been a novel. I got to check into it. I always thought it was adapted to the screen. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it was. As it says, a doctor and sheriff in a New England town discover a teenager who dreams about brutal rapes and murders and enlists his aid to catch a demonic killer. Now, this one is starring John Cassavetes, John Ireland, and Carrie Keene. Believe it or not, John Cassavetes in this film, directed by John Howe. And I've seen it a couple of times. It's actually pretty good. It's kind of a weird flick, but the creature is, you know, you don't see a lot of them, but he's very well done, and it's very well filmed. I do like the film. It's bizarre, The Incubus, and I do happen to have a short trailer for it.
Galen Village. Tranquil. Quiet. A nice place to live. But something has gone wrong.
Look at the bruises on the kid's neck. One hell of a large hand. His spine was crushed like a piece of balsa wood.
When the sun goes down, something stalks the streets of Galen Village.
Joe wants to call the Attorney General. Have him send in some help. What do you think I should do?
Take whatever help you can get.
30 years ago in Galen, these same types of murders occurred.
I think my past has something to do with these murders.
No, Tim, listen.
Something silent. Something lethal. Something or someone is killing the people of Galen.
I think I'm going crazy.
Every time he has this dream, somebody dies.
You're talking about actual materialization.
What kind of a quack are you? The boy's in the clear.
He's not in the clear. Every time this kid has a dream, somebody in this town dies.
It is real. It is alive. It is among us. The Incubus.
There you go, folks. The Incubus. I recommend it. It's on Tubi. It's definitely worth watching at least once. Let's put it that way. Let's get back to the chat. I know a few people have chimed in here. Eric says that is Boris Vallejo. Okay, well, there we go. Dave James, nothing says galactic dominance like stopping at Earth for the ladies. Yeah, exactly. For adventures in love. What the fuck? Steve Harrison says Deathstalker may be Vallejo. Yeah, that's very true about the paintings on the posters. Often the only good thing about them. Yeah, in many of those films, you're absolutely right. Radamas says, I'll watch anything with Barbie Benton in it. Oh, yes. Barbie Benton was Playmate of the Year. Oh, yeah. And she was, you know, Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, and I could have sworn they got married. I don't know. 8-Bit Snake Boy says, lol, yeah, that's pretty much all that matters. Barbie Benton had a fling with Hef. Might have been married to him. Yeah, maybe. Barbie Benton, yes, so hot. If no one has seen it, check out a video on YouTube of her house. It is awesome. Seriously. Wow. Okay. Bring back the slave girl movies. That's what Apex says. Oscar-winning material from Slave Girls horror, Mike. The costumes, that is. Oh, yes. It's the freeze frame button. Yes. Oh, yeah, you got to have the freeze frame button capacity for Slave Girls, folks. Bolorama was fun. Good stuff. Yes. I like Bolorama. I think it's genuinely, it's way up there, I think, on the Full Moon Entertainment list. Let's put it that way. Apex says, Brink Stevens is a sweetheart. I met her at 2 conventions where I had my comics and art table spaces in the late 90s. That is fantastic, Apex. Werewolf says, a lot of crazy shit went on in America in the 80s. I wish I took a holiday there during my teen years. I would have loved to have met some of these crazy, sexy babes. Diana Dors was also in an Adamant video, yes. Incubus, be careful when going to the restroom. Yeah, that could be problematic. Alas, I have to go. Everyone have a great weekend. Please support Horror Mike with all his work. Take care. Take care, Eric. Great seeing you here tonight. All right, folks. Well, as you can see on the screen, we have our last trio of flicks for tonight. Okay. And it's an interesting selection. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Look, The Bride. I'm sure a few of you remember this film. I saw it. I probably saw it in the theater when it came out. You know, Jennifer Beals, another one who was very hot in the 80s in particular. Of course, Sting, naturally. But, yeah, it's as far as like a Frankenstein takeoff, I think they just kind of did it to as a vehicle for Beals and Sting and a few other people because they were so popular. And it just has that, to me, it has that kind of feel to it. Like it's kind of like a half-assed attempt at doing a Frankensteinian film. But let's go to the page here. Yeah, as it says, horror, sci-fi, romance. Isn't that nice? In this inventive remake of the original horror classic, Dr. Frankenstein, a mad scientist obsessed with creating his idea of the perfect woman, who happens to be Jennifer Beals. There you go. Yeah. But I do have a bit of a trailer on this one. I didn't put it in the top trailers, but it's not that long. Here we go.
He desired something beyond love.
I might make the new woman, Clavell, independent, free, and a fit companion for...
The genius of Frankenstein. He created something beyond woman. Beautiful.
Where did I come from?
She'll break a few hearts, will she not?
Who is she, Charles? What is she?
You must obey me.
I will not obey you! You didn't create me!
And that was enough. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. Look, I like period films like the next guy, right? There's just something about this movie that strikes me as being so damn fake that I never liked it when I saw it originally, and I don't really care for it today. Let's just put it that way. I mean, that's all. That's all. I don't know. Just could not get into it. It's there on Tubi if you want to check it out. On the other hand, of course, it goes without saying, naturally, Tubi has got Predator, 1987, yet another film that spawned a lot of, rip-offs, takeoffs, whatever you want, high concept films. Naturally, Predator is, it's high. It's up there. It's high on the list of 1980s, especially as they say, I want to say very high on the list of sci-fi action flicks. No doubt about that. A U.S. Army commando team on a political mission in the South American jungle find themselves getting picked off one by one by an elite alien warrior. Of course, the classic lineup, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, of course, is in this, and of course, it was directed by John McTiernan. And it's great. What could be so? We've all seen it several times, so I just thought I would bring it up because it's an essential. Definitely an essential 80s film. There's no doubt about that. And more importantly, probably one of the great sci-fi action films of all time. No doubt, So there you go. Predator 1987, the original. And probably the best. Although I liked Predator 2 a lot as well. Next up, to finish out tonight, folks, 1980. Just squeaking right into the 80s with Scared to Death, William Malone. Now, there's a little history behind this. I just put 2 and 2 together. Okay, Scared to Death, 1980. Horror, sci-fi horror, of course. An inspector and cop turned novelist descend into the city's sewer system to destroy the genetically engineered monstrosity that's murdering locals. And the creature, it's laboratory created, and it is called a syngenor, synthetic. Synthetic genetic organism, syngenor. That's what it is. Directed by William Malone. Now I can tell you a couple of things. William Malone definitely loved Alien. The creature's got an alien vibe to it. There's no doubt about that. But it is not an alien creature. It's an earthbound creature created in a lab, and very low budget film. I like it a lot. I've seen it several times. It's just one of those flicks that, I don't know, I just like it. I like the dialogue. I like the characters in it. It plays very well. Let's put it that way. And Malone also was at the 1979 Egyptian premiere of Alien. I didn't see him there, but he was there. Now, Kevin Hellon and I went to that premiere in 1979, and this was the kind of an infamous premiere for the reason that they had props from the film, including the space jockey, in the open air lobby of the Egyptian theater. And we saw it because we went there the first day and we saw the props. We did a walkthrough and everything before seeing the film. And then a few days later, either one person or a few nuts went in there and they burned the props. So they had to remove the props, and that ended the prop display at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. And but William Malone took photos of the various props that first day. Okay. And I did a video on it. It's on my channel. If you look back, just look at, I think it's like the Alien Egyptian premiere. If you look it up, that's what it is. And you can see photos that William Malone took from that premiere. And there's no doubt about it. Scared to Death he was influenced by Alien, and it's a very interesting flick. There's no doubt about that. It's got a lot of things going for it. It is very low budget, but I think William Malone, he was a talented director. So he did a lot with little, and I have a short trailer for it here.
If you think you're frightened by the unknown, wait until you face reality.
Her left leg was ripped from her body, and her hair was pulled back so hard that it broke her neck. People in this town are dying like flies.
Scared to death. Thank God it's only a movie. From Lone.
There you go. There's the trailer. It's on Tubi, folks. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. I think it's definitely worth at least one viewing. I like the creature a lot. I like the acting in it. The dialogue. I thought the script was pretty well written. And the characters just work very well. I wouldn't call it an alien ripoff, although people have called it an alien ripoff. It's not an alien creature. It is a creature that's created from a lab, so it's different. It might, I don't know, it vaguely resembles the alien creature, kind of, a little bit, I guess. But it's really cool looking. And it's on Tubi. What do you got to lose, man? It's free on Tubi. So for the last time, let's go back to the chat and see what people have to say about these flicks. Werewolf says, Sting is saying, don't stand so close to me, Jennifer. Yes, yes. Eight-Bit Snake Boy says, I have to dash to. Have a good one, everybody. Great stream, Horror Mike. Great chat. Excellent, 8-Bit. Great to see you here. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a good one, man. To the chopper. Dylan, you son of a bitch. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. All right, guys. Excellent. Well, there you go. That concludes part one. Only part one of the 1980s. Next week is part two, folks. And then I'm pretty sure that the week after that will be part three, because there's a ton of stuff. You guys know it. We have just barely scratched the surface of the 1980s tonight. And Tubi has just got a ton. There are other films not on Tubi that I definitely want to bring to your attention. They might be a little harder to find, but I think in many cases they're well worth it. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Dave James says, going to check out Nightmare Weekend tonight. Excellent, Dave James. Apex says, great and thrilling stream. Thank you, Apex. I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. And, well, as per usual, I will leave you all with that classic tune by the Starfires called Linda. Everyone take care, and I will talk to you soon.
Linda!